1. Coming up on episode 174, we take a look at Dragon Stew, a new Kickstarter for cooking in Dungeons & Dragons. The Unearthed Arcana subclasses part 2. We talk about Birds of Prey and much, much more on the 8-Bit Adventures podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the 8-Bit Adventures podcast, bringing you the latest and greatest geeky news of the week. I totally did not forget to write the intro and read it. Yeah, but we're back. Your host, as always, Sean Hayes, and my co-host, as always, Courtney Bolin.
Hey, everybody.
So, yes. Forgetting to also open up the show notes has completely thrown me off. So
that'll totally do it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But, so we got a couple of big items this week, especially D&D themed items. One thing I want to do is just get an updated funding rate for this thing. So I guess we might as well dive right into it.
Yeah.
So, I need a calculator.
Because it's
Sorry,
at
folks.
$27,645 out of
$4,000. So I have it. So, all right. So I got it. So what we're talking about right now is a Kickstarter project
words we have
called Dragon Stew. That is a cooking themed D&D book by Antonio D'Amico, who is doing all of the artwork in the book. He does sort of video game art and illustration. But this is a cooking supplemental for 5th edition with cooking classes, dessert familiars, cooking rules, and a cooking trial adventure. So what this is, I don't know if this is doing it justice, but in my mind, how I like to think of this as it's a book that's kind of in the style of the Acquisitions Incorporated book for D&D, where you have, so there's these cooking classes. These are not classes like Rogue and Bard and Fighter and Wizard. These are classes much in the same way as the AC Inc. roles are on a team.
Yes.
Where these are add-ons that help supplement your character in regard to cooking.
Yes.
So, and for people that have played Final Fantasy XIV, you can also think of it almost like your how you have your crafting classes and your gathering classes as well as your combat classes. Except this is kind of an add-on where it levels at the same rate as your regular class. Yeah. But I actually draw a lot of parallels between this project and AC Inc. because it feels like this is sort of like a cooking version of what AC Inc. is for corporate business and marketing, right? Whereas, so in this book, the cooking classes include...
there are bakers, seasoners, trackers, and presenters.
As well as, one of the stretch goals met, there's butchers.
Yes.
So these include things like, so as a baker, you can make dishes sweeten potions to make them more powerful, and bake your own dessert familiar. And it has synergy with... bakers have synergy with all classes.
Yes.
Whereas like a seasoners have good synergy with all martial classes. So you make dishes spicy, you can coat your weapons for additional elemental damage, and you resist fire damage. Whereas like a tracker, it has good synergy with all classes that use wisdom as their primary stat, because wisdom is typically associated with tracking and woodcraft and woodlore. So as a tracker, you can track down your prey, get the best possible cut when preparing a meal, and be an expert on animal interaction. So it's almost like Ranger, the subclass. Like, it almost like Ranger as an add-on. But I imagine that Rangers would end up being the best trackers. So really good synergy between the two. So yeah, the Butcher is great for anybody that uses bladed weapons. And it augments bladed weapons because you use it to cut the meat. So, so yeah, these are all based around different aspects of cooking and preparing meals. And so the idea is that these different roles will work together to produce really great dishes.
See, I think of Melody implementing this in the 8-Bit Adventures.
Oh, 100%. So Melody and the Ironclad chefs and everything benefits immensely from this project.
Like, that's exactly what I thought of when I thought
Melody's,
of this. I did not think of actually first. I thought of 8-Bit.
Melody would 100% be a high elven, some kind of bard. I don't quite know what yet. But with the baker.
Yes.
The baker role. And this is something where, like, I was looking at structuring the 8-Bit Adventures sort of RPG Maker project game as doing something like this, where I was like, well, maybe I should just lean into, like, the whole cooking thing and have it be like you use certain abilities to, like, carve meat from enemies and stuff like that. So I'm already. I saw this on Twitter and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna save this project. Let me know when it goes live. But yeah, so there's the cooking classes. There's also so there's dessert familiars.
I'm so excited about these. These are so adorable.
Now, I don't know how many. Okay, so they do. Okay, so for example, so these are just they're regular little critters, right? But that are augmented to be made out of a particular dessert. So you might have so the examples on the Kickstarter page are a dog roll, a mocat or mochat because it's mocha, a crab or an eclairet, which is a little ferret eclair.
It gives
so it's a little
meaning.
Little frosted, yes, a little frosted ferret.
Oh, they're just adorable.
And they have and in addition, according to the page, in addition to their own specific skills, they are indistinguishable from the pastry used to create them when they stand still. So, your little crab croissant just looks like a crab, or rather looks like a croissant when it's just standing still.
Your eclair just looks like an eclair.
Yes.
Oh man. I'm just like imagining like Sprinkle going nuts at the Big E.
Yeah. And
that
so
would actually be an amazing one shot.
One of the other things is the intention is that these are all familiars, so that in theory, with the DM's permission, you could just summon one of these with the Find Familiar spell. Right, if you wanted to kind of pick and choose elements from this.
Yeah. Yep.
So there's that. Cooking Rules just adds a sort of subsystem, I guess, for doing cooking, where it might be that you make. So it says like you vanquished a fire elemental and you make some kind of a milkshake out of the fire elemental, so that it gives you temporary resistance against fire damage.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Like if I'm about that.
It says use the size, type, and abilities of a monster to determine the effects of a dish made from it. They work with all monsters, an additional layer of tactics and planning to an existing game. So I like this. It seems like it'll be simple enough because I know we talked about the bundle on
Mm-hmm.
DM's Guild. Was it last week? That was the
Oh yeah,
bundle to
the one
benefit
for
Australia.
yeah,
And
2 weeks ago,
there
I
were
think.
some cooking stuff in that bundle as well, but I thought
Mm-hmm.
it was a little clunky, a little bit, and a little too finicky. So
Mm-hmm.
that'll be one of the things that I look for with these cooking rules, is that that it doesn't add a whole lot of extra complexity without adding extra fun.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's meant to simply take a look at the monster stuff and give you sensible bonuses based on the monster. So, and to have it require minimal adjustment to add
Yeah.
to your current game.
I like how he puts in it. Think of it as Monster Hunter meets the Great British Bake Off.
Yes, so you beat me to it, Courtney.
I did.
So
I did.
specifically,
I finally beat you to it.
specifically that is in regard to this cooking trial adventure.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a level 5 adventure for a group of 3 to 6 players. Takes about 3 to 5 sessions to play. And it's, so from what I gather, you are tasked with going out and hunting a monster and then making a dish based off of it to impress judges.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all about this.
Yes.
Um,
It's a way to make your own ironclad chef competition.
yeah, this is so.
Like,
So in the context of Tales of Jamora, since that's my own baby. Oh, actually, we haven't even gotten to that part yet. There are also going to be subclasses as part of this book for existing classes. One of which being the war chef or the war cook for fighters, where it's you're a fighter that fights with cooking utensils, based inspired by the Arcane Archer. There's also the College of Hosting for bards, which is about it's sort of performance in the context of hosting events, which you could argue is a particular kind of performance. It's very
yes, being the host of an event is absolutely a different type of performance.
Yeah,
you have to know how to. Yes.
Yeah, so very controlling support. And then sort of the domain of pleasure for clerics. So the pleasure domain, which is use of charms, illusions, and the charisma stat, but it's about empowering your party by preparing a bubble bath and lighting up some scented candles, finding your enemy's most secret desires and use against them. So I guess one of the things that I have to say is, and we'll get into this later when we talk about Unearthed Arcana, is hopefully it avoids some of the pitfalls that people were drawing with the the very short-lived love domain that was part of the Unearthed Arcana, and just the connotations of charm, which is sort of an influencing and somewhat maybe not direct mind control, but mind influencing effects in the context of romance. So the hope is that this focuses more on sort of like pleasurable sensory experiences as opposed to like a more romantic type thing. Because that's what I'm drawing from like lighting up scented candles and preparing a bubble bath is like, that's like sort of a little bit of indulgence as a way to empower people, right?
Yeah.
Which also fits very well with cooking.
Yeah, to like add additional HP and stuff. Like, yeah, I see that as very much like, what do I enjoy? It would be opening a room for Courtney and having it be filled with puppies, kittens, and plushies.
I mean, maybe.
And dice.
So, also magical cooking items and artwork. So much more artwork.
So much
with guest artists as well.
Yeah.
So currently the only things left for stretch goals are backgrounds. So sort of standard character backgrounds that relate to cooking, and then the College of Hosting for bards. But currently 633% funded. So
Oh, that was what the math was.
yeah,
Okay.
super
Mhm.
successful. The artwork is fantastic.
No, the backgrounds were funded. It's still, um, the Bard College of Hosting still needs to be has not
Oh,
been
okay.
funded
So
completely yet.
so the section down
Yep,
below
but
hasn't been updated yet.
the
Okay.
backgrounds has been,
All right then. Yeah.
yeah,
Also funded in 45 minutes.
yeah.
I can't remember. I want to say that maybe Matt Mercer or somebody had linked this on Twitter, and that's how I found out about it.
Uh,
Which bless him. Uh,
mhm.
give him that 1d4. And
So he
so
can be hashtag blessed.
let's just see.
But
Trying to see when. So physical copy estimated delivery is September 2020. A lot of the stuff has been lined up already and is just kind of getting the last portions and bits together. This has so all of this stuff has been play tested for at least a year now, with multiple groups over various sessions. So there's been a lot of thought and care that's been put into this stuff. And yeah,
I think it's really cool because the creator is French. Antonio D'Amico is French, so he's from
sort of a Spaniard living in Paris.
yes.
Yes.
But I like that it's 15 euros as your like digital edition for everything. And I'm like that's pretty darn affordable. Like
Yeah,
that's
the
awesome.
lowest tier is
15 euros.
about $17 US to get a
Yeah.
digital edition. And it's also includes all of the stretch goals as well. So
Yep.
all the stretch goals will be included in both the digital and print copies.
You also get access to the Dragon Stew Discord server and HD wallpapers for mobile and desktop.
Yep.
So
In which the artwork is just really fantastic.
it's you know what I would love to see actually, and I would love to do this is to do a Dragon Stew Humblewood.
Oh my god.
It would just be
Courtney,
so much
no! It's
cuteness
too it'd be
overload.
too cute. We couldn't
There's
do
no
it.
such thing.
We
There's
can't do
no
it,
such
Courtney.
thing as too cute.
We can't. Oh no.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
The only way we could crank it up to 11 is starring Sir Muntz.
We can do that though.
We could do that.
We could
but I mean,
absolutely do that.
But here's the best part is this book is meant to be sort of a companion so that you could tack it on to any existing campaign.
Yep.
If you really wanted to go all out and crazy, you could run a standard sort of Forgotten Realms D&D campaign. Add on Acquisitions Incorporated for, corporate marketing stuff, and then also add on Dragon Stew and your, let's say, your branch of Acquisitions Incorporated, it also doubles as a restaurant.
Yes.
I say this because I think the C team technically owns like several restaurant franchises. Also, this book is expected to be between 120 to 140 pages, so we're not talking a little teeny tiny thing here. That's
pamphlet.
That's pretty substantial.
Yeah.
And hardcover. So, yeah.
It's just in its gorgeous artwork. He says he's been working on it for over like a couple years now. So yeah, it just absolutely looks so amazing.
Yes.
I'm excited to get further looks at this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait for it to come out.
So, just in, I guess what's, full disclosure, I have funded this, the physical edition, or the chef edition, as it were. So once that book comes in, we'll sort of go over it like we did with Humblewood. Yeah. And talking about just the print quality and everything like that. Also, your name in the credits. What?
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 I missed that part.
Your name in the
Oh,
credits?
so, well, okay. Apparently my name will be in there somewhere. Hang on. I gotta double check this.
The chef edition?
Yeah.
Yeah, your name in the credits.
Oh,
One digital
jeez.
copy and one physical copy of the Dragon Stew book, all unlocked stretch goals, high quality Dragon Stew desktop and mobile wallpapers, access to the Dragon Stew Discord server, your name in the credits, and a digital book, art book with designs, concepts, and insight into the making of art present in the book.
That's right. The art book as well.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
also a digital art book.
Yeah, I love art books.
Which is
I'm still waiting for that's right, the Mandalorian art book. I want more art books. So yeah. I had completely missed that.
Yeah, it's just kind of
Yeah.
it's just kind of popped in there, very very stealth.
Yep.
So,
So here's the question:
mhm.
is let's say for the game that we're playing in, Courtney, that you and I are both playing in. So one Josh York's game.
Okay.
Let's say that Josh York were to pivot the tone of his game into something cooking themed.
Pivot. Okay.
Would you be a baker? So would your character Nat, who's a tiefling bard, baker,
Yes.
seasoner, presenter, tracker, butcher?
I feel like she would actually do that. It's seeing what's there. I feel like she might actually go towards that bard subclass, the College of Hosting.
No.
And
This is
yeah, no, and
so
I feel
I'm not
like
talking about the subclasses, just
no,
the
I
cooking
feel like
classes.
she would. I feel like she would also be a presenter.
I could see that.
Yeah,
Also, good synergy with spellcasters and high charisma player characters.
Yes. Yes. Nat has her let's say issues. That's the word that I'm gonna use for her.
Yes, but Nat
But
aims to please,
yeah,
and
yeah.
well, she tends to like spells with a verbal component. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, she does.
Uh,
Yeah. So I can see her wanting to. I can see her being a person. Yep. And what about you?
Daristrix is a tracker through and through.
That's what kind of what I figured.
Yeah. I mean, a close runner up would probably be Baker, since
I was thinking.
since he's from a swampy region or whatever. He gets a lot of sort of meat and like root swamp vegetables in his diet. But not a lot of fruit, and so whenever he encounters fruit, like, he goes hog wild for it, because it's very sweet, and as we know, sugar's very addictive, kind of a thing. So he will like eat whole bushels of apples, kind of a thing, or citrus fruit. And so I could see him like going leaning far into Baker, because it's all about the sweet stuff, and then getting a little tiny crabroissant or something.
I was gonna say that's the other thing is I think if Nat were to go with anything else, it would be Baker, because I will be very 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 honest. I took a lot of pages from Jester's book, when thinking about how I wanted this character to play originally. She has since transformed into the beauty that she is now.
Mm-hmm.
And but I really think that if she knew that she could eventually create and summon dessert familiars, she would be all about that in a heartbeat. But if she didn't know about it, then she wouldn't, if that makes sense.
I suppose.
Yeah, like if she came across another baker and they, maybe say they had a dog roll, um, she would be on the floor playing with it in a heartbeat
Yeah.
and then be like, how did you, oh my gosh, oh, I need to do that. I need to do that. How do I do that? How do I learn how to do that? I want one. I want one. How do I do it? Yeah, because Nat is forever 16.
Yeah.
Forever. And no edgy, emo, Courtney 6, like cute, adorable, sweet, beautifully broken 16.
Now, here's the more difficult one.
Mm-hmm.
Tales of Jamora.
Oh, man.
All right, now let's use kind of Twixen, Zarin, Jacobin, and May. Who's who?
Oh, man. I feel like
I think Jacobin would be a seasoner.
Twixen would want to be the presenter.
I could see Twixen being a presenter. Yeah.
Yes. I feel like he would want to do that. Um but that's
Or
the thing
Zarin.
though.
I feel like they would fight over who gets to be a presenter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
See, I
then
don't.
May? I guess May would be a tracker, I think.
Yeah, cause she. No, no, no,
Would she be a butcher? Get
no. I think that May would. Thinking about May as she is in. Um, May would totally be a baker. May would have a lot of fun making edibles.
So the butcher is a combat-focused class that also excels in the kitchen when it comes to cutting up ingredients. The perfect choice for anyone using a blade in combat, thanks for their ability to sharpen weapons for extra effectiveness. I see that being May.
I see it being a toss up between the two. I really do. Actually, let's put it this way. Depends on how much time she spent at home before picking this up. Because if May was in deep water for an extended amount of time and um like picked up this type of information when she was at home, oh, girl will be baking up a storm, making edibles left and right. Because she just wants to chill when she's at home.
Yeah. I'm just thinking because
If
she
May was
hasn't gone alchemist
out,
at this
yes,
point, that she's
yeah,
still gone full rogue, is
she
that lends more to
has.
being a butcher.
Yes, and that's the caveat that I have. If she was home, not only would she have her Disney princess, but she'd also would just be able to be doing what she truly wants to be doing, which is living a quiet, peaceful little life. But no, now she has stuff that she has to do, and she's not very happy about this right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, if she was away from home and learned this information, butcher all the way.
Yep.
Yep, yep. That's it's kind of like if you learn something when break or if you're out partying, you know.
Yeah. I guess I could
Yeah.
also see Twixen being a tracker.
I could see Twixen being a tracker, yeah.
It's just weird because Twixen doesn't eat, so I mean, I feel like he might not care very much. You know?
I think that Twixen would be looking more for um
Or I think it might just be that you get two presenters.
yeah,
Is that Twixen
yeah.
and Zarin are presenters.
Mm-hmm.
Jacobin's 100% a seasoner.
Oh,
And
100%. Yeah, no, there isn't even a
May
question on that one.
May's basically a butcher.
Yeah. Yeah, she's getting pretty salty.
Perhaps even the butcher of Blaviken.
You're
Wow.
at your house. I can't tell you.
That's right. May's not beefy enough to burst through her leather armor all the time.
Why would she want to? It's glamour.
This
It's
Courtney,
glamour.
this is a Henry Cavill joke.
No, I'm not. No, we're not doing it. He's not. No,
Because
no.
May's not beefy like that. May's very small.
Yes, she is.
Uh,
Yes, she is.
Tiny strength. So, but yeah, Dragon Stew up on Kickstarter right now. I full pie cakes on this one. 5 out of 5 pie cakes.
Yep, I can't wait till you get it, so I can read through it.
I totally cannot wait.
Yes.
And it'll be around the time that I probably take time off of work. So
yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully have plenty of time to read it. But we'll see. So, we alluded to it earlier, but so Unearthed Arcana Part 2. So we got a Part 2 for subclasses.
Yes.
In this one, College of Creation Bards, which are bards that basically utilize like the music and lore of creation to produce different conjuration effects. One of which being they can make actual musical notes appear and float around people that give them buffs.
That is the biggest trip ever. Oh, man. Okay.
So I'm just bringing this up now.
Yeah, so that is out of where you can manipulate the Song of Creation. It is a 3rd level College of Creation feature. You can manipulate the Song of Creation to summon a floating musical note of possibility.
So this makes me think that this is related to that they're doing this in relation to Wildmount, perhaps. That instead of a mote of possibility, it's a note of possibility.
Oh,
which it's an actual note. It's a tiny object that is intangible and invulnerable. And it's when you spend a bardic inspiration die to give a creature one, it adds additional effects to it. Now I'm a little upset since this is kind of stepping on the toes of the what was it? What did I call? Basically, I was creating a bard college for Jamora that was related to sort of academic lore and the study of ancient civilizations, but it revolved around stories, and the idea was that you would utilize bardic inspiration dice to pull out different effects, almost like kind of a wild magic type thing. But this feels like it's kind of doing the same thing. And I'm almost like, oh no, maybe it would just be the College of Creation then, instead of having to create this bardic college. You also get to utilize the Song of Creation to bring items to life, animating them as a dancing item.
So wait. So what you're saying is now with enough bards, we could have Be Our Guest happen.
Yeah.
In game.
Yep.
Oh man.
You can also at higher levels just create items out of music. Or performance rather. It can't be more than the GP value can't be more than 20 times your bard level and must be large or smaller. But you use it at 14th level, so it has to be worth 280 gold pieces or cheaper.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah. And it lasts for a minute.
That's pretty cool.
Well, sorry. So it lasts until the end of your next turn unless you use your action to maintain it. And you can maintain it up to a maximum of a minute. Oh, if you maintain it for the full minute, it exists for a number of hours equal to your bard level.
Oh, so if you
I like that mechanic. I like the mechanic of like
concentrate on it, then it stays.
So it's not just concentrating though. It is requiring active concentration. which I
Yes.
like as a mechanic.
Yeah.
That it requires actual like buy-in and expenditure of something to maintain it. I wish it might have been that like that if you then used it again, you could like continue the duration.
Mm-hmm.
And that like if you did it enough times, then it becomes permanent. Sort of like because you can do that with some spells, right? If so it's like Guards and Wards, one of my favorite spells in the game, is if you cast it every day for a year, it makes the effect permanent.
Oh, is that kind of like teleportation circles?
It's the
Like
same
if
thing with
you
teleportation circle,
if
yeah.
you cast it the same one every day for a year,
Yep.
it's so it's there,
Yes.
and so it's always then there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Wizards did that because it used to be there was a separate spell called Permanency in 3rd edition. And what you would do is you would cast one of these spells, and then you would cast Permanency, and Permanency would have a big experience point cost. So you had to spend experience points to cast it. And it would make that spell permanent as part of it. But I like the idea of you kind of like have to ritual cast this stuff over an extended period of time to make effects permanent. But I mean, you know, it's also lasts a minimum of 14 hours, and how long are you going to be using this object that, you know, lasts that long?
I think that's, you know what? I think that's really cool because you can also do it with like mounts and vehicles. And like that's a great way to say like, hey, we need this for the day. It's instead of getting mounts that, you know, you then have to let go off into the wilderness like some parties do. It's a great way to not lose and not have your mounts die, basically, or be left out into the wilderness on their own.
It's also I predict a lot of shenanigans of commerce, we'll say, with creating gems that you would then trade in, and you know, because if you like you make it last for 14 hours, you know, and it appears magical and everything, you cast it, you essentially you trade it into a moneylender. You would basically have to, from a world building perspective, say that moneylenders you would think would have some way of detecting like, oh, this is an impermanent item. I should not accept this in exchange for money.
Yeah, like they would be able to know that or something.
But, you know, if you don't mind doing that and want to set it up later so that this gem disappears, and now suddenly these characters have earned the ire of moneylenders in a given city that then send debt collectors after them, that's another option. Because you know, it's the old trick of it. There are tricks like that. In 4th edition, there was a ritual to temporarily turn copper pieces into gold pieces, and then they would turn back into copper pieces after a certain time period. You know, and stuff like that. So yeah. Next up, so we have the Unity domain for clerics. Now, this is where a little bit of controversy around it, because this started out very short-lived. I want to say maybe like an hour or so as the love domain. And there was a lot of like charm spells as part of it, and a lot of like kind of
so this
like
is
invoking infatuation type stuff, which
yo man, that's not okay.
A lot of folks did not feel comfortable with that. Made it feel like it was a lot of like drugging people into romance type stuff. So Wizards pulled it and put forth the Unity domain instead. The idea being that clerics of these guys preside over marriages, familial bonding customs. They nurtured the emotional bonds of friendship and camaraderie, as well as romantic love.
They with them, friendship really is magic.
Yeah, and I mean that's how it was with the love domain as well. Before it was,
I think it, yeah.
It was because of the connotations. A lot of people were thinking romantic love, and then assigning these charm traits to it. Whereas I could see the thought from Wizards being that they were thinking of a cleric of love would be like a non-violent cleric. And so they're going to try and charm,
dude.
so they're going to charm enemies into not attacking them and becoming their friends and stuff, which kind of overrides a little bit of free will.
But at the same time, you still have like dominate monster, dominate creature, you know.
Well, that's what they got. From what I understand.
like anybody can still learn
right.
within those.
But it was specifically because those spells were then being associated with a deity of love.
Yeah.
And it was, I could see the argument, because this is how it was in second edition, where deities of like of love and peace and stuff were like required to use non-lethal weapons. Because otherwise, you know, it didn't really make a whole lot of sense, you know, a cleric of peace to wield a warhammer or something. No, it was they wielded like a net. So you just throw the net and you would neutralize people without actually harming them. So I could see that being the route, but maybe it needed a little more pulling some dragon stew puns here, maybe a little more time in the oven to cook. It was maybe a little half-baked.
You know, I kind of like I like the rework because it reminds you to tell your friends that you love them.
Yeah.
You know,
and this idea is like,
let's normalize that, people.
And I mean, it could not even necessarily be friends.
Yeah.
But like, you know, two soldiers, you know, that are part of a group, you know, and maybe they're, you know, they watch out for each other, you know, as military units do.
Yeah.
Like, this could also enforce that. I see
arms.
I see the Unity domain working real well in Ravnica, since this is the whole point of the Selesnya Conclave, is very unity, the group, sort of letting go of individualism for collectivism. So some of the things they get are you can forge a bond between two willing creatures, and while bonded, they are basically blessed.
Yeah.
But they only get that bonus once per turn. Right?
Yeah. So
what this means is if you make multiple attacks per turn, you can choose one of the attacks. If you have to... So remember, it's per turn, not per round, so it functions like sneak attack. Where if you do it out of turn, you know, it still functions. So, yeah. Lasts for an hour.
Or until
you use it again. It recharges after a long rest, or when you expend a spell slot to do it. This is another feature that they've been introducing that I really like, is being able to, for classes that have spell slots, is being able to burn a spell slot to gain additional uses of a class feature, instead of having it be based on short, long rest or whatever. Or,
that's kind of,
you know, nice. Say like, this is usable once per day, or usable wisdom modifier times per day, and instead saying, you know, this is usable once per day, but you can burn magic in order to use it again.
Yeah.
They can also, and a lot of their future features play off of this bond ability. So, like, one of them is
shared burden.
Actually, I don't think that requires that. It does not. I'm sorry.
No, it doesn't. You're right.
The later ones do that, but shared burden is super cool ability. When somebody takes damage, you can use a reaction to split that damage up between your wisdom modifier number of like willing creatures. So this is a damage redistribution, and resistance or vulnerability applies after you redistribute the damage. So let's put this into context, right? Say in our game, Nat gets targeted by the big bad and is crit, and it's going to take like 100 points of damage on the crit, which would basically drop like one shot her. And let's say we have a Unity cleric. Cleric could say, I'm going to redistribute that damage throughout the rest of the party. I'm going to send only 1 point of damage to Nat, and then split the rest of it between, you know, 3 other people, so that it's like 33, 33, 32, or rather 33, 33, 33. But then, wait a minute. Our barbarian is raging. And it's, damage that could get reduced by that rage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm instead going to put 66 points of damage to that barbarian, and then I'll divide the other 33, and, you get 15, you get 18.
Mm-hmm.
And then the barbarian reduces it down to 33 points of damage.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this, there is no limit. It's just, it burns your reaction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, each creature
it's
must
really
take
good.
at least 1 damage. So,
yes, but it's not like it recharges after a short or long rest kind of a thing.
Yeah.
This is ultimate kind of support damage modification type stuff. And I'd argue this is even better than healing. Because it's essentially shifting damage around so that you could more easily prevent it. So,
yep.
I like it. It's super cool.
Yeah.
Protective Bond is your bonded creatures can use reaction to give the other creature resistance to damage. Like basically when they would take damage, they can gain resistance from it. So that's pretty cool. And the Capstone ability for this domain is the Protective Bond functions as long as they're on the same plane of existence, and when one creature affected by it is reduced to 0 hit points, the other one basically rages out and gets a whole bunch of bonus abilities.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So
advantage on attacks, ability checks, saves, resistance to all damage. And then they can also touch their bonded partner and expend any number of their own hit dice to restore that number of hit points to the target. Yeah. Super cool.
Whew.
Oh.
Okay.
So it's the bonded partner gains the following, or until the creature regains at least 1 hit point. So if you do that, you then lose the other benefits. So you might want to get you might want to wait until the very last minute of and to get like your advantage on attack roll and basically become like Super Saiyan, and then at the very last minute be like, okay, boom, and like expend all your hit dice to heal them back up.
I have a quick question on that.
Sure.
Sean, as a DM.
Yeah.
Spare the dying. So you don't.
Yeah, so spare the dying would be kind of a way to game the system on that a little bit, because they're stabilized at 0 hit points.
At 0 hit points, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you only get it for a minute.
You can get them for a minute, but that's 10 rounds.
Yeah.
In combat, if I mean that's
yeah. I'm not sure. I don't know what the intent is, but I mean, yeah, that is allowable as it is written.
Yeah.
So
that's why I say, Mr. DM.
Yeah. No, I mean, as it's written, that's that's good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually see that as a way to no, we're gonna do this
as a way to keep things safe, because technically, like if they take damage again while they're stabilized, they start making death saves again. They also fail a death save.
But at the same time, say you have a big enough party, you can have have spared the dying, and they just rage and roll and wreck face for 8 rounds or whatever, and then they use their last that's a long time in battle to be doing something. Oh yeah.
It also makes rogues crazy. Advantage on all attack rolls, so all sneak attack, and then resistance to damage, which rogue. So it's basically you never have to uncanny dodge because you just get resistance.
Oh man!
So you could then focus on using opportunity attacks with your reaction to then sneak attack with an opportunity attack.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, it gets gross with rogues.
Rogues, man.
And then last up,
All them D6s.
Last up, the Clockwork Sorcerer. This is, as a sorcerer, you are touched by the realm of Mechanus, which is the clockwork realm of law and order. So it has a lot of, like, negating chaos. As opposed to, it's not necessarily that, like, oh, you're like a weird robot man, and more that you... so some of the bonus spells you get relate to objects or items, but also for, like, warding. So it's a lot of, like, negating either damage or negating variance. So one of the higher level abilities is you basically get the rogue's expertise feature. Or not expertise, reliable talent. Right? So you can activate it, and for the next minute, any time you would roll an attack, ability check, or save throw, any roll of 9 or lower is treated as 10 on the die.
That's a what's ability now?
So for a minute, when you activate it, any attack roll...
Get this?
Rogues get it at a much higher level, only for ability checks.
Okay, I'm like, wait, what? When do rogues get this? I don't... What?
Well, hang on, let's check.
Yeah, because what you're talking about, though, I know it's the 14th level feature where, yeah, you get to... It's Trance of Order. So you gain the ability to enter a state of clockwork consciousness as a bonus action. And for the next minute, attack rolls against you can't benefit from advantage. And whenever you make an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw, you can treat a d20 roll of 9 or lower as a 10. Once you use this action, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest or until you expend 5 sorcery points to use it again.
Yeah. So rogues get reliable talent at level 11. And it's whenever you make an ability check that lets you add your proficiency bonus, you can treat a d20 roll of 9 or lower as a 10.
Cool.
So it's basically, as long as you're proficient with a skill, you can't roll lower than 10.
Yeah.
Or a tool, as that's an important consideration. So it just means that, for example, May, if she were to pick a lock with Thieves' Tools, if she would roll lower than 10 on the die, it's just treated as 10. Which then becomes like a 27?
A 10 goes, goes to 27.
Because your bonus is plus 17,
yeah. So. Yeah, love them gloves.
Yep. Gloves plus expertise is pretty gross. So plus max dexterity, I believe.
Yes.
So anyway, but yeah, and then at first level, they can you can use a reaction to, like, negate advantage or disadvantage, which that's pretty cool. So that, for example, so here's the thing. So using rogues as an example. So let's say the rogue is in melee with a fighter against an enemy, but they have disadvantage on the attack, and so they would not get sneak attack. Clockwork Sorcerer could say, yo, rogue, I'm going to negate that disadvantage, and you can now get sneak attack damage if you hit.
Yeah.
So,
let's restore cool that balance.
The Capstone ability is you summon a bunch of clockwork spirits that do a whole bunch of stuff. So it repairs any damaged objects, restores up to 100 hit points divided as you choose among any number of creatures within the area. Every spell of 6th level or lower ends on creatures and objects of your choice in the cube. So it's just like, you fix everything, you negate any magic you want.
Oh. So it's kind of like, we're going to reset in
this
area.
Yeah. Yeah. And you get to choose which spell effects. So you could say, nah, I don't want to remove the curse on an enemy. And I also don't want to remove bless on my allies. But yeah.
Oh, that's cool. it's funny because so there's the different spirits come up as those different manifestation mechanists. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
And it's he just keeps like a large spectral cogwheels appear hovering behind you. The hands of a clock appear in your eyes. Um, your a ringing of a clock can be heard by you and those affected by your magic. See, I'm sorry, but I just think of TikTok of Oz,
Sure.
and I just see him just roly poly, just tuck tick tock, just going going around and messing stuff up, just messing everything up.
Yeah.
Like I would totally love to actually play him. But that's not how he works
Now,
because
I
he's
mean,
real
for
famous.
bonus shenanigans, is you play a Clockwork Soul Warforged Sorcerer. So then you are also partially construct yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, so you make TikTok.
Yeah. So, all right. So that took up a lot of
Oh
our time
goodness.
thus
Yeah,
far.
wow.
But so Courtney, I know you saw Birds of Prey.
I did. I
So
did.
so caveat, I know you're a bit biased because you're a big Harley Quinn fan.
I am.
Uh, but what'd you think of the movie?
I loved it. Um yes.
And we'll try and keep it spoiler free.
Yes. It that's why I've been thinking about this a bit today when I've been able to. Um Amazing girl crew um of just kicking butt and taking names, and I love the original title of it because apparently it has now been retitled.
Yeah, I did see that. And
Yes.
I wonder if it's just because it was taking up too much space on.
It didn't
Uh,
take up that much space though.
I
Birds
don't
of
know.
Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn, I think was just too many words for people. So now
Well,
it
no,
is just
because
Harley Quinn, Birds of
I
Prey.
could see that taking up a lot of real estate, like at local movie theaters. We'll say,
Oh,
like the
okay,
title.
yeah.
What I mean is the
Most of
title
those
taking
have
up a
just
lot of space on the screen
most of those
or
have just
wherever.
been putting Birds of Prey. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
is what I have seen.
Um,
Um,
but I wonder if it was something like emancipation, maybe like some. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of.
According to the New York Post, it got a new title after it crashed.
Sorry, so you cut
But
out. I'm gonna guess you said crashed and burned at the box office.
yeah, it
Yeah.
did. Um, but I don't care because I will probably at least be seeing this more time in theaters, and I will be buying it when it comes out on Blu-ray.
Okay.
So um the first 5 minutes is the only kind of any spoilerific stuff. It because in the trailers you do not see Joker. Um, there's big reasons for that. The biggest of which is this is called the emancipation of one Miss Harley Quinn. Um, and so it's a really great movie of Harley finding herself, Harley recognizing what she wants out of life,
Mm-hmm.
what she deserves out of life, and not to sound weird and memey, but she is a strong, independent man. Um, and I love the ways that Margot Robbie just so much love how she plays Harley Quinn. Um, I was actually really surprised with some of the costume, especially after hearing that she was uncomfortable during Suicide Squad in some of the skimpier costumes.
Yeah.
But a
So
lot of them,
one
yeah.
of the things that I've heard is that this production was primarily at least the crew and everything was primarily composed of women, and
Mm-hmm.
so that influenced a lot of the decision making as far as costuming and character design and
framing of the shots. The shots are actually
yes.
framed around Margot's beautiful face and not her chest. But it is I will say that having Ewan McGregor as our big bad, he did such an amazing job. So just like if I could slit his throat through the screen, he played the character of Black Mask so well. He was just he played the worst man ever very, very, very well.
So that's interesting you say that, because this is not the first time that we've had someone that we've regarded and is known for playing wholesome, pure characters play someone utterly vile and reprehensible. See one David Tennant playing the Purple Man in Jessica Jones.
Yes.
So I think it's interesting, and a lot of folk, and hopefully maybe after this performance as well, people are looking at these actors that are known for these big roles of playing kind of pure characters, than being like, hey, you want the reins to play some kind of diabolical villain.
I think
because I think it makes it that much more compelling.
Oh, it I needed to scrub something that I could not reach, because he plays the bad guy man-child who doesn't get what he wants. So true to so many women's experience there, with that type of man-child that has a fit, and when things don't go exactly his way and all of that. Like, he plays it so well that I want to punch him in the teeth. But it's Ewan McGregor, and I can't do that because he's an actor.
Because he is General Kenobi.
I fell in love with him not because of that.
Well,
I fell in love with him during movies, but that's another subject.
You cut out again, so I believe you were saying Moulin Rouge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you keep cutting out like every couple of seconds.
Oh no.
Just FYI. So,
no.
But yeah, so I'm glad that that you enjoyed it.
I did.
Yeah, it seems to unfortunately not be doing well at all. I think they were hoping for only like a 50 million I guess return. And they failed to meet that. And so I know it was getting a lot of comparison to Deadpool, and it's definitely not meeting the levels of success that Deadpool did. Which I feel like might be an unfair comparison. Just because I feel like, unfortunately, that the fact that it's a DC film might be an albatross around its neck. That like
I think I understand maybe where DC wanted to go with this movie. And I enjoyed it immensely. As I said, I will more likely than not be going to see it in theaters again. And I will be owning it when it becomes available to own. But I think that DC expecting Harley Quinn to save the universe of the DC universe is not cinematic universe.
Well, I get the impression, from what I understand, is that they're also leaning on her to do that with the comics as well.
It's just too much on
and
girl.
it's a lot of Harley.
I mean, but I'll also say this, like, yes, I love me some Harley. I love me without Joker. Because that's just toxic relationship that nobody needs to deal with.
Yeah.
I
No, I'm
love that.
talking about how it's like with Poison Ivy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's still
Yeah.
it's a lot of Harley.
Yes, and I think that might actually where we with DC as a total is they know that Harley was the most loved character out of Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
And no, that's not even a question. That is a statement in fact. According to me. And they're trying to replicate it, and I think that they've just put too many eggs all at once in the
Yeah.
Harley basket.
Yeah.
Not that we don't need it, because again, I am all for Harley. I am all for Harley Ivy. Like, I ship that to the moon and back. But
And it almost seems like that just DC has this problem. Is that
they'll
like
focus.
well, and they haven't really found something that works.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like the moment something kind of works in a film, they then crank that up to 11, and this has got to be the way we go all the time. Because we saw it happen with the tonal structure after the Christopher Nolan Batman films, where everything's dark and gritty.
Yeah.
You know, like every DC film's dark and gritty.
No. This one I will say is fun.
You know, and this one, like, you know, they saw that, like, oh, everybody loved Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn in Suicide Squad. I gotta turn it up to 11, and everything's gotta be Harley. You know, and right up to the fact that I would not be surprised if they essentially recast her as Harley in the remake of Suicide Squad that I think is still happening. Yeah, there was talk that they're remaking Suicide Squad already. And I feel, and it's the same thing with Joker, you know, how like Joker is basically their most successful villain. And so that's why at this point, if you really think about it, prior to the 1990 Batman or, you know, like prior to the 90s is we had like one Joker.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, even up until like the mid 2000s when we got the Nolan trilogy, we still only had two Jokers. Three if you want to count the animated series with the Mark Hamill Joker, which is that's fine. That's fine.
I mean,
which is also weird because like
that was also a consistent Joker through the animated series.
Yeah. Also like, a bit weird because like DC continues to use Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill for those characters.
Yeah.
But anyway, then like it seems like ever since the Heath Ledger Joker we're now on this fast track to like all these different Jokers. And that like now also Joker's the hot new thing, but sort of again. And I don't know, I kind of wish that maybe DC would just like maybe take a step back and look at what they actually want to do and plan things instead of...
They've done this for years. It was Batman forever.
Right, but it wasn't... But they were all sort of individual Batman stories. It was the same thing with Marvel before they decided to do the MCU. Is we got tons of Spider-Man and none of it was connected and there was all sorts of differences and everything and nobody can do... I mean, that's the other thing, right? Is like Sony was just like, let's just redo Spider-Man. So I feel like maybe they just need to take a step back and reevaluate. Because it seems like after all this time, like that they're still just trying to chase Marvel's success.
Oh, absolutely.
And that they want the same thing. But the issue is, number one, that I feel like they're too late. Since Marvel started, 10 years ago now?
Longer.
Like they started, so 10 plus years ago,
Yeah,
starting with Iron Man, building out this MCU.
I think. Yeah,
Um,
yeah. They've had this stuff flushed out years. They had 20 movies planned for the last, since Iron Man. Yeah, Iron Man came out in 2000. Um,
sorry, you cut out.
Iron Man came out in 2008.
In 2000.
8.
Oh, in 2008. Okay, yeah, you kept
Yes.
cutting out on the 8 part.
Ah.
Um,
um,
so yeah,
but yeah, I think
so
DC
it's
just.
so
I like
Marvel
what they've given
started with
us.
that, and they
Yeah.
started with those building blocks, and
Yeah.
then kind of pieced it together as they went along, and they laid the foundation. Whereas, the MCU was like halfway through by the time that DC was like, "Oh, we gotta do something like this," and then Man of Steel came out,
Yeah.
which was not good. And that was the foundation that they built from that, and it was
Yeah.
like, it almost feels like that they haven't really had a plan.
Yeah, that's kind of what
and
I've felt for a
and they want to do the
while with
same thing.
DC.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I felt for a while with DC is personally, I feel like they keep setting up all of these great things. I really enjoyed Aquaman. I tolerated the Batman or not Batman, the Superman. It's been a hot mess between Batman and Superman from DC in the last few years.
Yeah.
But I've really liked all of the like other stuff that they've done. And I am somebody that I really enjoy Suicide Squad. I really like that. And I love Birds of Prey, but it feels like they keep getting you right there. And then it's like a kid with ADHD and they're just like, no, we got to go over here in the area. They don't seem to have a direct focus of where they're going toward. They seem to be pulled off, like you said, when something stands out of, oh, Harley Quinn was like, Margot Robbie was the takeaway from Suicide Squad, let's focus on her.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like.
It feels like the difference is Marvel sets trends
Yeah.
and DC reacts to trends.
Yes.
And unfortunately,
Yes.
by the time that DC reacts to trends, the trend is like kind of done.
Halfway done. Yeah.
um so yeah. And I think that's a big reason why Birds of Prey didn't do as well, is just because it has all of these other DC films that
Mhm.
it needs to get past and say like,
Yeah.
no, this is a good film. Because so many people are just like, it's another DC movie. I'm not, I'm gonna save my money. Animal Crossing's coming out. I don't want to spend all that money that I could spend on Animal Crossing at the movie theater.
Valentine's Day is coming up. I have to get my partner yeah.
Valentine's Day coming up. I'd rather, I might as well just go. I mean, MCU's over, but I need more Robert Downey Jr. I might as well go see Doolittle. Since we talked about that last week.
Yes.
Which, just one minor point about that I think I mentioned last week, just to totally derail this conversation.
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. works best when he just plays like himself.
Yes.
He did some kind of weird faux Scottish
Yeah, you were
accent
saying
type
that last
thing.
week. It's kind of distracting.
It just, I
Of
can't, like, it takes you
why.
out of the movie because he like
Yeah.
can't really convey emotion as part of it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, no, just be yourself. It's fine. It's a
Yeah,
movie. We'll get over it.
it's like when Benedict Cumberbatch does an American accent. It's weird for me.
Oh, see, I love him as Stephen Strange, though.
Like it's yeah, it's weird. No, seeing him because when he's dressed as Doctor Strange, like in like this, like let's call it the superhero costume, like totally one thing. But like if when he's dressed like in normal and speaking in an American accent, totally off. Like, I don't know, something about the superhero costume. But getting back to Harley Quinn, yeah, this movie it has intrigue, it has violence, it has espionage, it has mobs, it has
That does bring up one thing. It is rated R, folks.
oh yes, it is rated R for very, very, very good reasons.
So I
Do
mean, I've
not
heard
bring your kids to this like you
I've heard that it is not on the level of Deadpool, but it's kind of similar.
Yeah, do not bring your kid. No, just don't. No.
So,
It's rated
and
R
I think
for.
that might be another factor that's pushing people away. You know,
Oh yeah.
is like, as I almost feel like that people rush to still see Deadpool despite the fact that it was rated R. And parents mistakenly did that. Whereas, like, I don't know if a lot of parents would be bringing their kids to see Harley Quinn. You know,
And I think that just is another societal thing that we're not going to tackle.
but
But
anyway,
no,
I don't necessarily
really
want to cut this
enjoyed it.
discussion short.
No, but I really, really enjoyed it, and
You cut out throughout that whole thing, Courtney.
no.
But
Go see it.
okay, yeah. So, all right. We're gonna talk really quick about what's going on in 8-Bit Adventures. Ready?
Yeah.
I have a little Super Mario and Yoshi icon on that button now on my stream deck. It's nice.
Nice.
So basically, as a heads up, light stream schedule this week on account of the fact that we are recording Courtney's one-shot this week, as well as it being Valentine's Day, so it doesn't really lend itself well to a lot of streams.
No.
However, I have been doing more 8-Bit Adventures Plays Temtem. There will be a Temtem stream on Saturday. We're going to be jumping into a volcano and doing that all stuff. So yeah, solving the mystery of the volcano.
Fun.
Also, I bred my first Temtem.
Ooh.
So I bred a little Umishi with a Puki, or Puki's evolved form or whatever. And so they both individually had like pretty good stats. And so the resulting little baby Umishi had amazing stats.
Woot, woot.
And is now already the evolved form. Because of the way evolution in Temtem works is it's not at specific levels, but a certain number of levels after you catch it.
Yeah.
So if you catch a level 15 Umishi, it evolves at level 30. Whereas if you breed one at level 1, it evolves at level 16.
Nice.
So yeah, so I have the evolved form now, and it's absolute powerhouse. And yeah. I was searching for the sort of nature mental Temtem that's like a healer. Turns out I can't get it until much later in the game, so I felt silly about that. So yeah, we're just going to continue the story on this week's stream. Mm-hmm. And then as far as comics, comic 3-20, The Sword Speaks. So we get a little dialogue between Iggy and Honed Edge on what's going on. And that they're going to stand and fight all these the skeletal pirate crew.
Ready, fight.
Yeah, one thing to remember is that 8-Bit Adventures is the idea is that it takes place in a video game, so turn-based combat.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily, oh no, we're overwhelmed and just pile on kind of thing. But still, if you encounter an enemy force and now they've got 16 people as opposed to your 4. And some new tricks for Iggy to learn with the sword. Set up to be a little ominous. I will guarantee it's not any possession kind of mechanics or whatever. As a little bonus for the podcast listeners, one of the things that I'm thinking of is playing around with the idea that a hone edge, which is what hone edge basically is a sword that has like a sort of ribbon attached to it that functions like an arm. So if it has the ribbon arm hold onto Iggy, now essentially you have a sword that you can't be disarmed of, but that also you can let go and the sword can move on its own, kind of a thing, so that you can do like basically a Byleth whip sword idea.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's
cool.
what I'm thinking of, is ideas involving that, of like a sword as a ranged weapon because it's on a stretchy ribbon and it can animate itself because it's a ghost sword.
Yes.
Just saying, or Hone Edge is a dancing sword. Hone Edge is 100% just a dancing sword. In like Pokemon D&D terms, like you could, that's basically what it is. And Aegislash is basically a dancing sword and dancing shield. But I want to play around with some of these ideas of like, that it being cognizant of the fact that you can open up more interesting fighting capabilities by holding onto your wielder and then like, the wielder holds onto the ribbon and like throws it out to get additional range, like Byleth's Sword of the Creator. So, whip sword, yeah. Except the whip is on the wrong end. So
yes.
And that is basically gonna wrap it up for this week in 8-Bit Adventures. As I said, no art stream this week. No 8-Bit Adventures draws because we're recording one shot.
Sorry, guys.
Be on the lookout for that. First week of March is when that's gonna air. So, and then, I mean, as far as Questlog, Courtney, do you have any updates from Stardew Valley?
I do not have any updates. I have 42 mummies to kill still.
Okay, well that is an update.
Yeah, that's about it though. I have not.
So I think we might skip Questlog then, as we are approaching an hour 30. One final thing, folks. Pokemon Home's out. Forgot to mention that in the news portion. So, be sure to download that. Get your Pokemon in there. I've been using it. One thing that I did not mention is you get a free Pokemon.
What?
You get a free Kanto starter along with a Pikachu.
Cool.
So yeah. Kind of wish that it wasn't just a Kanto starter because there's enough of them through various methods. But it also like defaults to giving it good IVs. And it gives it the hidden ability. Also, Driz is saying Pokemon Random Trade has a serious issue now. I don't know what that means. Because I don't know what the issue is. Have found a way for Random Trade to install malware. Oh, that is a problem.
That's a huge problem. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Here's the solution. No. Don't Random Trade.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like. You can already do Wonder Trade in Sword and Shield. I don't know why you would Random Trade in the app. So
I don't know.
I guess for now, don't.
Yeah. Don't.
Oh yeah, or if you're using it on the Switch as well. Oh, Driz is saying it's in Sword and Shield. So what? These people are trading it. So they're getting a hacked Pokemon. So wait. So is this just like people are hacking Pokemon and then random trading them through Pokemon Home, and then people import them into Sword and Shield? Game Freak detects that it's a hacked Pokemon and then prevents you from connecting to the internet. Because like that's always been a thing. Like, because, Game Freak, well, yeah. But I mean, that's always been a danger, though, is like they hack it, random trade it in Sword and Shield. Sorry, we're getting these updates in real time.
Yeah.
So this is a bit of a PSA, I guess. And then the
Yeah.
artificial elements cause your game to crash. Okay.
Oh.
And then after that, you can't connect, I bet.
Come on, people.
Okay, so, yeah, just don't Wonder Trade then. I don't know what to say. Also, nobody, like, at this point, I don't know. I never get anything useful from Wonder Trade at this point, so whatever. Or random trade or whatever they're calling it, mystery trade. So yeah, I guess don't until they put a patch out for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say I'm exactly surprised that something like this happens.
This is why we can't have nice things, people. Come on.
Yeah. Given the prevalence of how many hacked Pokemon were appearing on the Global Trade Station in previous editions.
Yeah.
And, like, you didn't know if it was hacked until you got it.
Yeah.
And so, like, because the issue was you could not bring hacked Pokemon forward through, like, the Poke Transporter or Pokemon Bank or whatever, is that they just wouldn't let it through. So then you would basically lose all of those Pokemon. So, yeah. It's, I mean, this is basically, so what it sounds like is basically people are flooding Wonder Trade with Missing Nose. So
why, people? We like to have nice things.
Because people have a perverse fascination with Pokemon like Missing No or whatever. And how much it can screw up your game. And so these ones are hacked with specially designed malicious code. Yeah, I don't know why people would do this. But the good news is that now, if you'll pardon the language, now Nintendo's probably pissed. And so that's, you don't want to get on the bad side of Nintendo.
Nintendo's bad side.
Yeah. It is only rivaled by Disney's bad side.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's when Nintendo gets upset, yeah, it's you're gonna have a bad time.
You done messed up, bro.
Yeah, you're gonna have a bad time. Do.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we're gonna end on that note. So thank you for that PSA, Driz.
Yes.
So yeah, I guess now that Pokemon Home's out, don't Wonder Trade, ever.
Yeah.
Just trade with friends. That's the only way to be safe. Also, and if your friends trade you this stuff, get new friends.
Yes. You don't need that kind of negativity in your life.
Well, or just, it's not even negativity. It's just your friends are terrible people. So
yeah.
But yeah. So as always, if you want to see more content from 8-Bit Adventures, be sure to check out 8-bitadventures.com. If you want to help support that content, which includes comics, podcasts, streams, shows, and more, be sure to check out patreon.com/8bitadventures. Patrons can get access to exclusive comics, early access content, as well as sort of exclusive Tales of Jamora content.
Yeah.
Big shout out and thank you to all of our current patrons. Thank you for your support. And if you'd like to help out, you can do so for as little as $1 singular American dollar a month.
Woo!
That is literally less than the price of a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Per month, even. Lastly, our opening theme is One Up by Professor Shy Guy. You can find his stuff over at professorshyguy.bandcamp.com. And with that, we're done. So as always, have fun, everyone. Happy gaming. And enjoy your pie cake.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.